Jason's right in front of me on the camera. We're in Houston at Great Growth Solutions this week, and we were sort of tasked last week to sort of give a brief demonstration on some of our products for those who might not be as familiar on how our stuff sort of comes together and works in the real world. So we're going to basically start off. We're just going to sort of review our basic iFactory supply kit. This is sort of how it comes. Again, you can Google in, you can sort of see, zoom in. Has quite a few items. And I have them laid out here. You can see that we have our March, it has basically has a custom kit that sort of, if you're not familiar with how our stuff works, it sort of has an instruction book in it. And it's sort of laid out on how we sort of want the process of our medicine. And these are labeled in time frames of how much time it's going to take for you to die from a preventable cause of death. So basically they're saying you're going to bleed out before you have an airway problem, and then you're going to have an airway problem before your respiratory is going to kill you, and then so on down the line. And we're sort of going to cover the basics of each kit. So for massive hemorrhage in this kit, well, let me back up really quick. This kit also comes with a set of gloves. I don't have these ones on, but this is a set of gloves, and it comes with an eye patch. So the massive hemorrhage piece, R, as you can see, everything that's R is related to massive hemorrhage. So we have our Celox. In this kit, it's the Celox Rapid. But I also want you to see the Celox applicator as far as the powder, and we're going to go into these here in a minute with our demonstration. We're just going to show you what's in the kit first. I also sort of like to put the rolled gauze piece in there because you potentially could use this in the massive hemorrhage part of it as well. It's not color coded for that, but I also potentially like something to talk about. We have our patented TMT tourniquet. It's nicely wrapped up, and it's packaged way tighter than this. This one's been being used. So again, I'm going to talk about the use of that. So this is pretty much the massive hemorrhage part of it. Then we move on to the airway. It comes with the nasal trumpet with the lubrication pack. These are the non-lubed version of this. For respirations, has the Sentinel chest seal.
Let me grab one.
That's a lube one.
Because all the new kits are going to have those in it now.
So this is the pre-lubed one. It magically appeared. Then we have our Sentinel chest seal. And then we also have these with the new Safeguard Coriolis seals, which is essentially a chest seal as well, but it's also going to be used as a wound covering. So if you have some like avulsions or things of that nature that you need to cover up, that's not penetrating chest trauma to the chest, you can use this as well. Also in the respiration piece, we have a needle. We have one of our darts for if we have to do a needle decompression. And this will become more clear when we start walking through the demo. Circulation piece, we have our rolled gauze. We have our battle bandage. And then we have our battle wrap. So that's pretty much what comes in one of these kits. And we're supposed to sort of systematically move through a patient. So we're supposed to take care of the massive hemorrhage first, as I said, the airway second, respirations third, circulation fourth, head hypothermia, which we don't have anything to demonstrate for the head hypothermia piece, but we would like to use a Mylar blanket or something along those lines that we put I'm not even sure what was our product for that, Jason.
Which is for the March? For the Hawk or the
well, we have the Hawks.
And we also have the hypothermia blanket. It's just the one, right? The little emergency blanket.
Yeah, the emergency blankets. So again, that's Jason, my partner, piping in from behind the camera. So we're going to get started here really quick. We'll take a break. Hi, we're back. So we've already just covered the first piece of our massive hemorrhage thing, that if the wound is amicable to tourniquet placement, we're going to put a tourniquet on, and that's going to help us stop the life-threatening bleed. But if the wound is not amicable to tourniquet placement, so this wound is high in the femoral area. As you can see, the inguinal area, we won't be able to put a tourniquet above this wound. So what we have to do then is we have to pack the wound. Our first choice for packing a wound will be with our hemostatic agent, which is Celox. And we have a few options for this. We have I think 3 or 4 hemostatic options. My hands are all slippery now. Perfect. When you pull this out, it comes pretty much pre-packaged. It's Z-folded, as you can see. different than a roll, sort of for like an accordion, and that makes it easy to pay it out when you're starting to pack this wound. Now, as you can see, this wound is already oozing. Hopefully you would have somebody here assisting you, putting direct pressure on this wound while you got the packing material out, or you have your hand in the wound, putting pressure up against the artery while it's bleeding, sort of pinching it off. And then really all you're gonna start doing is you're gonna start packing this wound in. You're gonna start packing this material, getting it as deep and as close to the artery as you possibly can. And you're gonna keep going. And you're gonna pack until you get this in. Now obviously there's still some room in there. If I had some more, if I had another package, I would keep putting that in. Now, I do not need to follow this hemostatic with more hemostatic. As you can see, there's still quite a bit of this cavity that needs to be packed. So I can sit there and call in my assistant if they have help. Hey man, either A, hand me that other dressing, so my other assistant can come around here.
Here, Mike, you want me to open this for you?
No, I got it. So I would pretty much have my assistant help me open this if I could, but it's just sort of gooey with blood and stuff, and I'd rather Jason not get bloody. So I'm gonna take my hands off of this pack job that I just did to open this, because I want to show you the details of this gauze and sort of what we can use it for. A, if we do not have a hemostatic agent, our C-LOX, we can use this to do the exact same thing I just did, or I could back up my hemostatic agent with this gauze. And it's pretty much easy. Now my hands are all slippery, but you can open it up, and you can see in here that it pops right out. So open the wrong end.
So yeah, so if you open to one end, the whole thing comes out.
We're gonna stop that for a second. We're gonna edit that.
There you go.
Hey, I'm back, and I have the magical gauze in my hand with the right end this time. So basically, what we're gonna do is we're gonna rip this open. You can see that it has a tab of gauze already there, and it's designed so you can just grab this. All right, I ain't doing that, dude. This thing goes off. No, he's right, dude. I was holding it at the end. Nope. Yeah, man. Stop it.
So there's no question that the roll gauze is a challenge, to be quite honest. But it's you can see here there's
fighting. It's fighting. It's crushing it.
We've been just so you guys know, we're not going to sugarcoat anything. We've been struggling with this for the weekend with the students and instructor. So it's been tough. And even though we think we came up with a solution.
And I would call myself a professional. So anyways, we're back to this. So now, finger, uninterrupted, pressure on the wound. Now I have my gauze, and I'm gonna do the exact same thing. And I'm just gonna jam this gauze into the cavity as well, as best I can. And I don't really need to be surgical about this. I wanna get as much of this meat in here as I possibly can while holding that direct pressure to create that nice apex to apex pack job. So you're pretty much packing all the way around to keep that pressure on the artery. The hemostatic agent is where the artery was disrupted. It's doing its job by forming that clot there. And sometimes that hemostatic agent is enough to fill the whole cavity. But when you have a large cavity like this, you don't need to fill the whole thing up with hemostatic agent. You just back it up with some type of non-hemostatic agent, be it Kerlix, or if you don't have that, sometimes you have to improvise and use other things. But right now it's Kerlix. So you can see that I have a really nice pack job, and it's really tight. And in the real world, we would hold pressure on that until we had the ability to wrap it with one of our battle wraps or battle dressings and continue to move on through our patient.
All right.
So as you saw, I had the hemostatic gauze, and I put it into the cavity, and it was pretty easy. But there is some places where you might want to use some granular hemostatic. So the gauze is impregnated with what's on this. And it's pretty much just an applicator. It's a little bit difficult to get out of this package. I do remember these. Should have got it ripped open. And as you can see, it's a two-piece applicator with a sort of piece right there. And it has a top here. You pop that top, and you're basically putting a syringe together. Now imagine that hole being a small tract bullet hole, not a large one that we have there. So you simply push this down as best you can, and then you're going to start applying product while you withdraw. And that one's sort of pushed out, but if it was in the wound, it wouldn't have done that. And as you can see in my hand, blood would start to coagulate and react with that, and it would form a nice plug. Because there's times where, as you can see how thin that is, you're not going to be able to get a really good pack job with the hemostatic agent in there, and you still have the need to stop the bleeding. So these come out and pretty handy, and they're in our system as well. These are not in our IFACT replacement kits though. We just have them separate, but I wanted to show you guys why we had all this stuff out.
Okay, so we're going to go over, and this is just an internal video, but I think it's important for us to understand why things are as they are and why kits are important to us. Again, this is not the pre-lubricated. It's a kit of convenience, but you can see this is the lubricant. This lubricant makes it really, really easy for the nasal cannula to actually slide through. But you can see right here, this thing is completely flattened out, right? The whole idea of this is for this whole thing to be able to pass air easily from atmospheric air into her lungs, right? And this is the last source of air as far as protecting her airway. And if this is what we have, we're really not providing a really good service. So what we have to do is, in this case, you have to really kind of get this reformed before you put it in. You have to take the flange, open the flange, make sure that that's good, and then make sure there's going to be some way of getting that to open up, because it's going to hold its shape like it was folded in that kit. So we're going to do this and just kind of reform it a little bit, right? And then we're going to lube it up. The more lube, the better. If you don't have lube, what they actually teach is they'll actually have you use the patient's saliva and as a lubricant. So in this case, we're going to go ahead and just pass the nasal airway in. In this case, this is a cadaver who it's been a little, maybe a little rigid, but we're going to pass that back through until we get some resistance. We're going to take it out and then just rotate that around as much as I possibly can. So I'm actually getting some resistance, so I'm not going to push it anymore. But you could take it out and actually try the other side. And I don't know if we're going to be, because she could actually have a deviation. So it's all right. So it's going back a little bit better on that side. So we want to try and make sure that's open up enough. And if you had a stylet, I would try and take a stylet and actually try and open that up a little bit more. But that's just right now, at least her airway is protected. We can always open that up more if we need to. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and remove that and then show you the pre-lubricated cannula. All right, so this one's pre-lubricated. You saw that I had to go through the lubrication with the other one. I don't have to do that. It already has a silicone lubrication on it. You can see that this thing can be bent in any form you manner, and it comes right back. So this is one of the great things about this cannula and the innovative process we go through, right? What is great about the company is that when we find that we have issues, we do our best to fix it. And that's been something I've experienced firsthand. So we have a strong investment in that. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead, since I already know that her left side is better than her right side, so I'm gonna go straight. I'm gonna aim straight back. I'm gonna allow it to naturally follow. A little resistance there. Now, if she was awake, I would have her swallow, but at this point, some reason I'm getting some
Try the other one.
Other side. Yeah.
Give it a shot. Straight back with that thing.
Yeah, so I had a little bit more flexibility on that. The other one could actually be folding up on itself too.
Yeah.
So either way. All right, so we're still in the respiration section of this, and we're trying to look at quality of respirations. This is actually our DART product. It is a 14 gauge, 3¼ inch needle. Allows us to actually be able to do chest decompression. So chest decompression, we talked about on the chest seals, is in the event that either of these seals have not been able to. This one will not allow us to avoid tension pneumothorax or hemothorax. This one will allow us to prevent it, but in the event that we still develop it, even with those in place, we can go ahead and use this needle. So essentially all you're going to do is just do a twist. You're going to lift this up. You're going to pull the needle out. Now it's a needle inside of a catheter. So you're going to you'll see the needle withdraws and the catheter stays in. So this would stay inside the body. The needle allows us to actually make the penetration through the skin. Now we can either take this and we can go along the nipple line here, so mid-clavicular, right? So there's a specific placement we're going to use, and we're going to place that, and we're going to puncture that straight through, and then we're going to puncture it in, and we're going to pull the needle out, right? And we're going to allow that to stay in there, and that's going to allow we should actually hear some air release, some fluid release through that catheter. We also can go mid-axillary, right? So we're going to go somewhere down in here, right? So we have another placement landmark. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to place that in, and then we're going to pull the needle out, right? So it actually will go in, so it should actually be done for, but it all depends. You can actually go, there's different depths on that we can go. So we're going to go, and so we actually get release, and then generally just a little bit further past that, and that's it. So that is the DART that's used for chest decompression. So thoracotomy needle. So other than that, that's a DART.
We're back. So now we've gone through the M, we've gone through the A, we've gone through the R, now we're in C. And the two options that we pretty much carry in our IFAKs is we carry, first thing is a battle wrap. And basically, so imagine Landry, SimBody's representative extraordinaire. Let's say she has a large bullet hole here or something, we have a tourniquet up here, and now we get more. She has some massive hemorrhage coming from here, and I don't have a tourniquet. I would pack that wound like I demonstrated earlier in M, and now I need to have something to put pressure on that pack job to keep it in place and to put pressure on it. So that's where our battle wrap comes into play. And these things are a pain in the butt though. There we go. So as you can see, the battle wrap is just like a clear tube of material. It's stretchy. I mean, I can't even break that. It's very hard. So she has her thing. She'd be screaming in agonizing pain, but she has her pack job in here. And now I would just simply place this over, and I would wrap it and roll it over. And I would try to generate some pressure as I wrap this thing around her. And I would use as much as I needed. If I don't need a lot, I'm not going to use a lot. I would take my scissors and I would cut it, and I would just continue on. It has quite a bit of wrap. So it's sort of like a clear ACE wrap on steroids, so to speak. And you can see it. The good thing about this is it would have a pack job underneath it. It's clear. So I can see if I have hemorrhage control on my pack job, because I would be able to see if the wound is leaking or still doing what it's not supposed to be doing underneath. An ACE wrap would cover it. This is basically a window to see what I need to do. Same thing. All right, so the next item we have is our battle bandage. Mostly wrapped in 15 different layers of stuff. Come on. Stop. How do you open this thing? Back. So the next thing we have for circulation is our battle bandage. Very similar, but it has a pad on it
8 inch,
remove.
8 inch by 8 inch
8
sterile
inch
dress.
pad. That you can move, that you can keep depending on the size of the wound you're trying to cover up. So if it's an abdominal wound, I can make it larger. If it's a smaller wound, I can just leave it wrapped up. And the same thing, I'm going to put this on over the wound, and I'm going to cover it, and I'm going to sort of wrap it again, the same exact way I did the battle wrap. Around. You're going to wrap it so you have what you need done. And it gives you the same options. If I don't need it all, I'll cut it. And what you can do is also, it gives you that window to look and see if this thing, if you still have hemorrhage control underneath this, what the wrap that secures the dressing onto the wound. And that's pretty much it for C with our pack. Thank you. So we're going to finish talking about the replacement kit with what the extra items are in the kit. So again, we mentioned earlier, this is the vacuum pack seal with gloves. We have an eye patch, an eye shield, in case we have an eye injury. It's pretty self-explanatory. We'll sit there and put that over the eye and we'll tape it down. Then we have what they call a T-Tri-C injury card. And this is what's used in the military, or pretty much anywhere, but mostly used in the military for the medic or the initial person rendering care to mark off what they've done to the patient. You can see it sort of broke up into different phases. Has a lot of bunch of different information on here. But I just want to make sure that you understand why this is here, because this will be attached to the patient and it'll continue on with him all the way through the continuum of care, and this actually will become a permanent part of his health record in the military, this form. So it's really critical that it's filled out correctly. And we also keep a little Sharpie in the kit as well, so if the medic didn't have one or the person rendering aid didn't have something to write with, he would have something. And as you sort of just work your way down, and obviously this isn't done during the heat of battle, this is sort of done after the fact, after you sort of have a minute to get things done and sort of relax a little bit, or you have another person documenting what you did. While you're working on the patient, you have somebody basically being the documenter and sort of filling out this card as best you can. You know, it goes about injury patterns, and on the back it talks about what fluid we've given them. It talks about medications, pain meds, antibiotics, and other things, and then it gives you a section of notes and a place for you to sign your name and your last four of your social security. And that's pretty much what's in that kit. So if there's any questions, please feel free to reach out to me or Jason or anybody else who's a product specialist, and we'll hope to answer your questions as best we can.
Shot, right? Yeah. And so the first thing that I did was, even if I can't visualize it because it's just full of blood, I know nerve, artery, vein, one, you know, because being medical, but trying to figure out where that's at. Thinking about where your arteries run. And so I basically can get in there, find it, make sure no more blood is pooling, and then from that point, just like you were doing in that room, you're actually doing it, right? And so at this point, I'm holding this in my hand.
Gotcha.
I could basically take that gauze, and as long as I'm packing towards the opening, I'm good to go. But what we're gonna do now is let you guys do this. I'm gonna take that, we have that clamp. Once I clamp it, I'll let you touch it. I just don't want it to squirt on anybody. mean, it's crazy that I can feel that pulse like that right now. So come around, check that out.
2 gallons. 2 gallons.
Oh, I thought you meant like this, right?
No, I mean like the whole time, right? So all of that training, and then especially when these cavities, so you got hemostasis right there, right?
Yep.
So that, and then you take your finger out, and now if I want to sit here, because this is the chitosan, you see that?
Yeah, that's kind of.
It's already doing what it's supposed to do. We don't have no blood pockets, right? We don't have a lot of pooling coming up. We're good to go.
Okay.
Good?
Yeah.
All right.
Cool. Thanks.
Who next? Who wants to feel how this is going to be?
It just soaks up the blood so that you don't have to. Or just a guide, you can't find a sea lick.
This, yeah. So, so you don't have to clean it up later. Is that what you said?
Well, I mean, that's what it does, right?
Well, yeah.
I know, I'm just.
But yeah, so if you can actually look at the chitosan, if you look at like what, so when Eric did the virgin gauze, if you actually squeeze this, you can actually squeeze blood out of that. But when with that, it becomes that mucoadhesive. You can squeeze. It's really hard to squeeze blood.
Hey, watch your face.
Yep, got it. Yeah, so it's pretty amazing, but like Eric said, it's just the plain gauze, it works. It just takes a little more,
And that bleed, you don't have it.
more experience and devotion to be put on this.
Because it's hard until it
It's
gets wet.
different, right? When you're
So this is all about pressure and getting it in place and long enough for actually the clots to actually develop, the blood to actually saturate that gauze and actually create a tamponade.
our bodies will basically
Whereas this, the mucoadhesive itself, is actually creating that tamponade. So with this, essentially you can do this. You have to fill the whole entire cavity. You fill that full tight in here. All he has to do is be able to get control of it, and then go to the next wound, and then come back before you move, and pack the rest of the cavitation and secure it in place before you do patient movement.
basically adhere to.
Whereas this, you really have to be really careful because you can destabilize that clot really easily.
Yes, man.
With that, it creates a very stable.
You want? Oh, he running this. Who next? 'Cause
Thank you for educating.
Oh no! It's you.
So why does he go old school? Why does he prefer that?
So we learn. So almost all of us, as far as the instructors, we pretty much all of us grew up raised on virgin gauze, right? And it's just a matter of it works, right? We all do we prefer to have that? Absolutely.